Hey everyone, it's Utsav. Today's video features an entry-level board from KBDfans, the BLADE60. Its aluminum case sports a distinctive angular design and arrow keys on a 60% layout, which you don't see too often. On the inside, it's essentially a modified tray mount that uses O-ring gaskets on the top and bottom of the standoffs to give the board a bit of flex at a relatively low cost. I'll show you how I chose to build this board, and I also have sound and typing tests for you toward the end. Apologies in advance for the abrupt lighting shifts, but I neglected to lock my white balance before recording. I hope that won't distract you too much from your enjoyment of this video. For an entry-level board, the box is more refined than I would have expected. Secured by light magnets, it flips open from the front. Inside, you'll find the standoffs, screws, feet, and the O-ring gaskets. Why, you may ask, does a middle-aged dude choose to build a keyboard that looks like it's made for kids? Well, keeping my workspace colorful helps to remind me not to take things too seriously. Anyway, back to the keyboard. I gotta say, I really like the angles in this case. Kudos to the designer for deviating from the norms of symmetry to create something that is bold, authentic, and altogether different from most of the 60% designs that I've come across over the past few months. Underneath the case is the case foam. Packed in a separate box were the options I picked when I ordered. One of the cool things about ordering from KBDfans directly is that you can pick out almost everything you need to build a functional keyboard from the DIY Kits product page, and you can customize the options to suit your taste, so there's no upcharge for things you don't need or want. Of course, shipping costs are another story. I opted for the novelty cream switches that I lubed and filmed before the build. I also went with the included stabs because I wanted to know what the quote-unquote stock experience would be like. I also added all the PCB and plate foam options along with a polycarbonate plate because I was going for a more muted sound with this board. Last but not least, the PCB. I plugged it in just to make sure that it works and used the light of the LEDs as a proxy that all the sockets were likely functional too. After installing the case feet, I clipped and lubed my stabilizer housings, taking care to cover both sides and the bottom in a light coat. I also lubed both sides of the stem before reinserting it into its housing. I haven't seen anyone else do this, but hey, it's a contact point within the stabilizer, and so I figured, why not? Finally, I applied some dielectric grease to the wires and with a brush made sure that I had reasonably even coating just past the elbow of the wire before clipping everything back into place and mounting the stabilizers to the PCB. With the stabilizers done, I sandwiched the included plate foam between the PCB and the polycarbonate plate. On the whole, I prefer these prefab foams over hand-cut PE foam, both because they're a cinch to install, and in this instance also because of the effect on this particular board's sound signature. More on that later. I installed switches and keycaps just to let me test the stabilizers. Predictably, the initial lube job was inadequate, so I used a syringe-based lube to inject some more directly into the housing. It's perhaps not as elegant as a Holy mod, but I have neither the patience nor the time for that. This method is quick, easy, and gets the job done with minimum fuss. Time to install the remaining switches. One thing to note about the novelty creams is that their housing is already exceptionally tight, and I had difficulties getting them to close back up with 0.18mm films. If you're going to film these, I recommend using a thinner film. Right, a quick sanity check to make sure the PCB still works, and then I was off to mount the PCB and plate assembly into the case. The standoffs and O-ring gaskets were super easy to install, thanks to a magnetic screwdriver tip and an electric screwdriver. You want to make sure that you install the gaskets on both ends of the standoffs if you want to maximize dampening. Case foam, PCB foam, and 4 screws later, the board was essentially done. Though I did a lousy job of showing it on camera, the USB-C port wasn't quite aligned with the connecting points in the case. This was relatively easy to fix. I simply needed to adjust the tightness of the screws on the left side of the board to compensate. One final component, the keycaps. I picked this honey and milk set from EpoMaker for its whimsical style and because the colors match well with the board. The XDA profile takes some getting used to, and while I'm not convinced that it's the profile for me, I do think this particular set looks quite nice with this board. It was also a mere $30, so I can forgive some of the font size and alignment issues. As you might expect, the flex in this board isn't uniform at all. If you push down hard on the spacebar, it's like there's nothing below. As you move up the board, it becomes stiffer row by row, but still retains a comfortable amount of flex. For me anyway. So yeah, the bottom row is my one nitpick here, as I do perceive the inconsistency whilst typing. Though it's positioned as an entry-level board, I wouldn't call the BLADE60 cheap. With shipping and taxes, the build kit alone ran me about $250. Add optional foams, keycaps, switches, lube, and film, and we're approaching the $340 mark. A board such as the Keychron Q4 offers comparable build quality. You might even argue that it has the potential to offer a more consistent typing experience with its double gasket design. And it is available fully assembled directly from Amazon for $180, so if you're in the US like me, that shaves off almost 50% of the total bill. What you won't get with the Q4, however, is this unique design that I find so appealing in the BLADE60. KBDfans also offers a much larger selection of switches than Keychron, and their foams are softer than what came in my factory assembled Q1. I would assume the ones in the Q4 would be similar, and as a result, the BLADE60 actually has more flex than my Q1. And after all, who gets into this hobby to save money, am I right? Alright folks, that'll do it for today. Please help me to grow this channel by dropping a like if you enjoy this video, smashing subscribe if you want to see more content from me, and turn on notifications if you want to know whenever I drop a new video. And as always, thanks for watching.